Yeah, I'm just sitting right here on the side.
You want to say anything before I turn it over to him? You want to say something at the end? Close it out. Thank them for their service and what they do. You want to do? Okay. 20 minutes? Oh, I was going to. You're trying to eliminate all the questions. All right, y'all ready to begin? All right, we're going to continue with our next hearing. Before us, we have the public library. I also have the chair of the Parks and Library Committee, Councilor Erica Gilmore, sitting to my right. On our panel today, we have Mr. Kent Oliver, the Director of Libraries, Mr. Chase Adams, the Associate Director of Administrative Services, and Ms. Suzanne Dry, the Finance and Human Resources Manager. And I believe your board chair, is he in the audience, Mr. Oliver? Keith Simmons, the board chair,
He's here.
is in the audience. Before you begin your presentation, Mr. Oliver, are you satisfied with the mayor's proposal for your department?
We are.
All right, you can continue with your presentation.
Thank you, Chairman Matthews. It is a privilege to represent the Nashville Public Library here today. The library board and staff are delighted with the mayor's proposed budget. Opening the main library on Monday, support of capital infrastructure repairs and improvements, books and materials support, and funding for the continued renovation of middle school libraries are important. The budget is a huge step in reaching our goal of recapturing lost service hours to the public. We are pleased that the Talking Library continues to be funded in this budget. As we do with all of our services, the library will continue to evaluate and assess the effectiveness of our equal access programs, ensuring that we always provide the best technology, highest quality, and most effective services to those in need. Before I go further, I would like to represent some other important people in our gallery. Our board members here today, as we've noted, our board president, Keith Simmons, is here. Our past board president, Margaret Ann Robinson, is here. Margaret Ann, are you? Joyce Searcy, also a member of our board, is here as well. We also have members of the Nashville Public Library Foundation Board, including Foundation President Katie Varney and Executive Director Terry Hughes. And I believe Mike Lovett is back there as well. I'm joined up here today by Chase Adams, who is our Associate Director for Administrative Services, and Susan Dry, our Fiscal HR Manager. I would like to take this opportunity to acknowledge that Chase will be retiring in September after 38 years at the library, and I know I'm going to miss him. Library administrators in the gallery include some associate directors, Tricia Bengal, Larry Price, and Jenna Schmidt. In addition, please allow me this opportunity to personally thank members of Metro government and the library staff for making my transition to the Nashville Public Library and Metro government as smooth as possible over this last year. I hope everyone in Metro recognizes what a tremendous asset we have in the staff of the Nashville Public Library. If numbers alone measure the success of an organization, then this year has been a very successful year at the Nashville Public Library. Through this April, we have checked out 3.6 million library items, while 220,000 children and adults have attended over 6,000 programs. To date, over 3 million people have visited our buildings. As a testament to the need of providing access to technology in our community, over 836,000 sessions have been reserved on our public computers, and our website has experienced over 5 million individual hits. With the main library and 20 branches, the library truly serves all neighborhoods of our metro area. In addition to the basic services of providing materials, free computer access and training, job skills, and daily programs for adults and children, here are a few highlights of special programs from this last year. 2 branch building projects are underway, the Southeast Branch and the Bellevue Branch. Both are scheduled to open in the fall of 2014. We are planning the Metro Archives move from Green Hills along with the main library renovation. An exciting project is in the development of a Learning Lab makerspace at the main library through funds provided by a MacArthur Foundation Institute for Museum and Library Services grant. We are thrilled that the Limitless Libraries is now in all Metro Public Schools. So far this year, Limitless Libraries has checked out 226,000 books and other materials to Nashville students. The Wright Middle School Library revitalization has begun with funding from John Ingram and developed in collaboration with Metro Schools. One of our challenges has been coordinating the Metro Retirement Incentives Program. The library lost 18 staff members to that program this year. Development of a new online catalog system is underway, and internally we call that an ILS. Our library website revision began this year. The library added Zinio, a free magazine download service. Our staff have been working on Boombox. This is a free music download service that is specific to the Nashville music scene. Adult literacy initiatives are expanding as part of our commitment to family literacy support. The library coordinated and presented 2 Nashville Reads programs, The Handmaid's Tale and The Life of Pi, with an enthusiastic collaboration of the mayor's office and other community partners. Our ebook collection is growing and expanding, and hopefully all of you here are aware that you can download ebooks free from our website. Numerous author programs took place, including Salon at 615 with our community partners Parnassus Books, TPAC, and the Nashville Public Library Foundation. We launched a new quarterly programming publication, Unbound, highlighting library programs and events. Internally, we are doing strategic planning that is underway and nearly complete. In addition, we have continued the essential library programs funded through the Library Foundation, such as Bringing Books to Life, Total, and the Wishing Chair Productions, our puppet company. What does the coming year look like for the library? Specific projects to be addressed this coming year include completion of the branch building projects, Southeast and Bellevue, as well as the main library renovation, addressing capital infrastructure needs, expanded technology access for the public, including the new ILS I mentioned, a new library website, another Nashville Reads campaign, developing an essential adult literacy program to complement our family and early childhood program initiatives, growing and maintaining limitless libraries, and work on objectives within the strategic plan. An example of this is our aggressive goal of making sure that 70% of Davidson County residents have and use a library card. What are the challenges facing us? The overall per capita budget support for the Nashville Public Library is in the lower third of those urban libraries we typically benchmark ourselves against nationally. Over a 10-year period, the library's full-time equivalent staff has fallen by 68, despite increasing our building and service footprint. As Nashville's economy becomes more positive and metro budget priorities are considered, we hope to see our operating budget improve and expand. The library's material budget requires continued growth. The library now is in the position of obtaining book titles in the traditional paper format as well as ebook format. Other mediums such as music and video will be downloadable in the future as the hard copy, CDs and DVDs linger for several years. More documents and research materials require transition to e-content and digital storage. Our buildings and facilities need basic maintenance and upgrading now and in the future. Examples of this include worn carpeting, dated HVAC systems, and building furnishings throughout the system that need replacement. Overall, we are transitioning our services to what we call a discovery maker experience for library users from what is considered the traditional public library, while still retaining elements of that traditional public library we are all familiar with. A quick story I'd like to share with you before I conclude my remarks. A Nashville mom recently went to Hawaii on a vacation with her family. While there, she and her husband hired a babysitter one night so they could have a date night out. The sitter asked where they were from. When they replied Nashville, she exclaimed, "Oh my gosh, you have the best library." If I ever get to the mainland, it is my dream to visit the Nashville Public Library. That's a true story. I assure you that our expectation is that the Nashville Public Library is and will be a great library and a great city that is more than books. We work every day to make that a reality. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Oliver, and that's an excellent first budget hearing presentation. Mr. Adams, I would also like to personally thank you for your service to our city, and well-deserving retirement in September. Thank you. You've been a pleasure to work with. Council Lady Moore.
Thank you, Chair, and also welcome to the first budget hearing, Mr. Oliver. It sounded very impressive. And I'm very familiar with the Limitless Library, so that is very well received. And, my question is that on page I-2 in the budget book, on your strategic issues, you talked about 5 area libraries, and the main library are now all over 10 years old and have begun to show their wear. Is Edge Hill one of those?
Well,
I'm always interested in Edge Hill being on the wish list.
It's not one of the immediate issues that we're looking at.
Okay.
But I think one of the things that I've found in my first year here is that we tend to think of our buildings being new for a long time after they're open. And typically, what we forget is that we need to maintain those buildings or need to have the ability to do so. So they all age rather rapidly, especially when you have the numbers of people coming into those buildings that I noted earlier.
Okay. Well, I was just wondering, because it's always on my wish list for Edge Hill to have some improvement, especially another room somewhere, where there's another meeting room,
Right.
It's always on my wish list.
Right. And I do want to point out that there is money in this budget for capital infrastructure and improvements, and I know that Edge Hill should be receiving some of those.
Thank you so much. That is so good to hear.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Oliver.
Thank you, Council Lady Moore. Councilman Stein.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you all. And Chase, you've done yeoman service, and you'll be greatly missed. And thank you for your good work. A couple of things. Limitless Library is obviously very successful. Perhaps the best idea our mayor has ever had, and you all have been tasked with implementing it and have been very successful with it. My curiosity now is we're in all public schools, and while it's so identified with the public school system, it's really a Nashville Public Library program that you do in collaboration with the schools. Is there room or opportunity for it to be expanded to other places and perhaps be a revenue generator?
I think what we need to do is get our plan in place for that. We're looking at that now as part of our strategic plan. Certainly we'd like to see it move out into potentially the private areas and other areas. And if we did that, it would certainly be a potential revenue generator.
Okay, I mean, I would think it just only makes sense if it can work in one school, it can work in another school, and some of those schools can afford to pay for it. Secondly, we obviously heard from volunteers in the Talking Library program who reacted with great alarm when there was just the conversation about a 2% reduction, which obviously is not taking place. I'm curious in that discussion, though, it did raise the issue of the age of the program, and I'm just curious that in terms of their advocacy for it, I'm curious as whether or not the way we do that are we using technology? I would assume there are ways to do that may be more efficient, more effective in the future to reach more folks that need it. And I'm just curious if you all are evaluating that in regard to all this discussion that's going on?
We're in the process of doing that right now. The discussion arose out of the fact that there are other options technologically as far as providing information online for those with disabilities. And while the Talking Library is a 40-year-old technology, they appear to have some users left. And what we'd like to do is understand the way that we can continue that program for the time being as we transition into other programs where there's more downloadable and more online information available. And actually, To be candid, I worked, 40 years ago, I was working in a talking library myself that was providing that service. So it is a 40-year-old technology.
Well, as you all look at that, it would be helpful to keep us informed because we clearly know now they have a strong advocacy group that we will hear from at a drop of a hat if as to what's going on there. My other question then is related to, as I recall in your presentation to the mayor, you expressed a need to acquire more volumes for the library. My assumption is that with the capital money we're doing in 4%, that we're going to address some of those needs?
That is our understanding, yes. The finance office has been great in working with us in the past, and I know that they understand what our needs are and we'll be able to work with them.
Is that your goal, Mr. Riebling?
Yes.
Oh, God. Even the deputy mayor is supportive of that. This is one of the few times that we've heard from him. Then one other issue that I think comes up continually, and I don't know as a city we have an answer to it, but you obviously got two classes of citizens within the library department in terms of parking. And if you live in if you work in a branch library, you don't pay for parking. And my assumption is that if you work downtown and you don't want to shuttle over, then you have to pay for parking. And we hear about that often, and I don't know what the answer is because I don't know that we can ever give up enough spaces in the parking garage to ever accommodate all the folks working there, but I'd be curious if you'd like to address that.
Well, that is a concern of the main library staff. In fact, recently they passed a petition that I'll be forwarding over to Metro, and they presented it to our board at the last board meeting. And I know our board is sympathetic to their concern. Staff that work at the main library pay about $1,100 a year in order to park in the main garage if they wish to do so. We have nested space in the back area, and then staff may also pay to be in the general space with central parking. And that is certainly an inequity that we're concerned about.
But they also can park for free and shuttle in, can they not?
That's correct.
Okay.
They can park with other Metro employees at the parking on the other side of the river. The main issue right now is that the bus does not come. How many blocks away, Chase? It stops here at the courthouse. It stops here at the courthouse, so the staff will need to walk from here to the library.
So one solution may be to take it an extra couple of blocks, then make it more convenient.
That would certainly help.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Stein. Councilman Tiger?
Thank you, and I won't echo everything about Chase because he knows how I feel about him. Kent, welcome and thank you. One of the special areas at the new Goodlettsville Library, I hesitate to throw a kudo to my colleague that sits to my left, but I know the Garrett family made a significant financial contribution for garden space and outdoor area, and I'm curious as to, are there other possibilities to forge partnerships in areas like garden clubs to even take the library to another level aesthetically, interior or exterior?
We are always looking for opportunities to do that. One of the things that's impressed me about our library is that we collaborate and partner with many different groups, whether it be on building projects or maintenance, maintaining special features in our buildings. And certainly, for instance, at Bellevue, I think we have some opportunities out there as well. But we are always on the lookout and willing to consider anything that makes sense within the building.
You might just drop the council a note that, what opportunities and where, possible needs are. I'm thinking of garden spaces and flower beds, and I know that there's retirement communities that might want to adopt that, and not only in Bellevue, but citywide. My second request would be, we're starting to address, and I'm going to talk to, obviously question the Parks Department that follows you about the need for deferred maintenance. The plan that you all have, the financial needs, and a timetable, because there are parts of the system that are showing wear and tear, and although my wife, who is an avid user of her Kindle and her ebooks and whatnot, I don't want to do anything to take away from that. We've got to maintain our property, and I think it's starting to be a growing problem, not only library but parks and schools and other areas. So if you could provide us more information on those capital needs, that would be great.
I tell you, why don't we can provide you a list, because we have a whole prioritized list that includes everything from carpeting to HVAC systems to, as I was mentioning, building furnishings. For instance, up at Madison, we've had some significant issues with the wear and tear on the furniture up there. And it's not that it's received necessarily excessively hard use, it's just that the day-to-day grind of people coming in and out of the buildings. But we can get you that list and that prioritization that we have. And I do want to make sure and note that we were very excited about the reception we received in the mayor's budget for beginning to address this issue, because there's significant funding in that budget to help us start on this. And we hope that it's a continued process as we show that we know where we're going to put the money and why.
I think the district council members would love to see that list, and I know the at-large would. And, if Councilman Pridemore napping over there is all day is creating that wear and tear in those chairs, we need to know that too. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Tiger. Councilman Anthony Davis.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you guys for being here. I did see I'm not off a second ago, so no, I'm just kidding. So just a couple of points I wanted to run through in questions. The Limitless Library, I don't want to belabor that point, but I've been getting a lot of good feedback and kudos over in my district as well. A lot of the Stratford cluster schools are utilizing it apparently, and just major kudos on that. I think I got all my questions answered on the talking library from Councilman Stein's questions. I just wanted to make the point, if there's, as we transition, it sounded like we were looking for a new technology, a new way to do that sort of thing. I appreciate that it's in the budget again this year. I think that was great. I think, the people kind of spoke on that, and just want to make sure we find and transition everyone before we move everyone over, basically, I guess.
And I'm with you, and one of the points I was hoping to make, and I may not have made it very well, libraries in this day and age are caught in kind of a trap, because we're trying to move out with technology, because that's what people are wanting, and it's what keeps us relevant and makes us access information in the most efficient manner. But on the other hand, we need to continue to maintain our books and print material and some of the other services, the basic services that we've had, because there's still a demand for those. So it puts a little bit of a squeeze on our budget, especially in the materials area and the technology area as we move forward.
I noticed you're restoring the Mondays at the downtown branch, correct?
That's correct.
And you'd like to restore Fridays at the other branches?
I think as the Metro budget permits it, we'd like to continue to increase our hours. The more we are accessible, our buildings and our services, the more use we will have. And there's no doubt about that. And I certainly understand that there's been a budget crisis in the United States, and certainly Nashville was no different. But as we move forward, I know that the board and I would like to see the consideration of those hours returned.
So branches are currently closed then Monday, Friday, and
the branches are open on Monday, but they're closed on Friday.
Okay, only Friday. Okay, gotcha. Let's see. I was going to ask, just in general, you had mentioned technology and infrastructure. Are there any larger technology needs or bigger things on the horizon that you're looking for?
Well, the ILS changeover will be huge, and I don't want to get too technical on that, but it will resemble more of an Amazon type of package where you'll be able to access everything in one spot, and there'll be more memory involved with it for individual users. Okay. So that's huge. The website development is huge as well, because it goes to how you kind of enter our services. The learning lab that I referred to is still in development, but there's going to be quite a bit of technology involved with that. Basically what that is about is the libraries are no longer just passive information places, but what we are about is having people come in and create things. And there'll be quite a bit of technology involved with that, everywhere from programs and software to recording technology, that sort of thing. So it's a big step.
What about, I guess I was also thinking more like upgrading computers, more tablets, more accessible, and tablets with learning software on them as well, just as kids are coming from school. Absolutely.
We are doing that now, and part of our planning is that we will have tablets or iPads for people to check out, actually.
Really?
So that people will be able to use those in the building, and eventually they'll be able to take those home.
Okay. finally, I just want, the Inglewood branch, I guess, is my main branch. I wanted to compliment Suzanne Robinson over there, who's amazing. She comes to all the community meetings. I just thought you guys should know she always goes above and beyond. And hopefully our branch is on your list for things, too. I know we got a new geothermal, I think, HVAC over there.
You did.
And we appreciate that very much so. We've got that rolled out. And the building, though, needs a lot. I think it's going to need a lot over the coming years. So just wanted to get that out there and hope Inglewood is on your list. And I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Davis. Mr. Reebling, did you want to address one of Councilman Tiger's
If I
comments?
could, if you don't mind, I'd like to go back to, and Councilman Davis sort of alluded to, it's on the funding of the maintenance. I think what's happened over years is sort of the library has sort of been sort of internally balanced between an internal fight between maintenance and 4% and book money using the 4% fund. And so as the need for additional book materials has grown, I think the deferred maintenance budget has sort of taken a little bit of a hit over time. And so to address that, what we have proposed in the capital spending plan that was sent out to you in detail this afternoon is a $4 million for the libraries to give them ability to sort of start to catch up on a lot of those deferred maintenance. They have a complete list which you ask for and they'll get to you, but it seemed to us that we have a great library system. We have great people who work in the library system. They need to get some need to get their facilities updated, and so this is the first step to try to really address that sort of in a big way, rather than sort of piecemeal it with a little money here, a little money there. And so I think it's a great step, and I know they're excited about it, and I think you'll see a lot of noticeable improvements across the city in all the libraries.
Thank you, Mr. Reebling. Councilor Johnson.
Thank you, Chair Matthews, Director. Thank you all for being here. I just want to make this short and sweet, basically, because everything you're doing for the library is commendable with the limited amount of resources that you have. But one of the things that I was excited about, as Councilman Davis explained, was the restoring of the Monday hours. That is just critically important. I had a lot of students in my area who are downtown, many of them are college students, who work on their research projects first thing at the beginning of the week, and having that main library closed where you can't do research and work to start out the week has really been hard on a lot of students. So I commend you all for doing all of the work you're doing and for restoring in this budget Monday hours.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Johnson. Councilman Dominic.
Thank you, Chairman Matthews. I've got a couple of questions. First, I want to tell you I'm looking forward to the new Southeast branch to be opening up. Also, and let folks know we have a meeting with the artists that are tentatively approved to do the community art at that location next Thursday, the 6th, at the Antioch Community Center. For residents out there that want to come participate in that, but I do look forward to that opening. I got several questions. I want to follow up on Councilman Stein and Councilman Davis's issue about the limit of the talking library. That will remain open under the,
Yes.
with or without any substantial cuts.
We were not planning on cutting any of the staff out there at all.
All right, thank you. I have several residents that depend upon that to get their news and things, so that's the big issue for me. The other thing I was going to bring up, and they've already talked about that, the branch being required to spend extra resources to pay for parking. Hopefully there's a solution for that. Another question is, do your employees work on an hourly basis or on a salary basis?
It depends on the classification, but the quick answer is yes, but we have a combination.
Okay. Reason being is I had an employee. You want to comment?
The microphone in front of you, Mr. Adams, is right there. You can pull it up. Right in.
Whoops.
Pull it up out of the desk.
Oh. There you go. The part-time folks are hourly. The rest of the folks are salaried.
A branch manager and other lead staff in a branch they would most likely be salary though?
Correct.
Okay, the reason I asked that is I had an employee contact me last night about some staff showing up consistently late. And it's one thing if they're on an hourly rate and they're being paid by the hour. It's another thing if they're on a salary. but we can discuss that offline.
We would
But-
address both.
I understand. Well, I'll talk with you offline about that. The other thing is about the security. I know that downtown library has an armed security officer. Are there any other branches in the system that have armed security officers?
We actually have a security staff, more than one, and they do get out into the branches. One of the things we're also doing at the main library is we're working with the downtown precinct to have a police presence in there as well.
Okay, is there what's the determining factor as to what branches get those security forces or services?
I would just say historical issues, and we have contract security in the branches through G4S, and the ones downtown are our own employees.
All right, because I've had, like I said, I had an employee call me, they were concerned about security, and is there a policy in the event there's shooting in the vicinity of the library to be on lockdown?
That's what they do. We have that frequently at Pruitt, and they go on lockdown. If they hear the shots or are notified, they will lock the doors.
Okay, and is there some consideration as to provide additional services, security services for those branches where they have that occurring on a regular basis?
Well, that's where we do have the contract security. And Pruitt has a contract guard.
All right, thank you. And do you have a way to calculate the circulation use in each branch as well as computer use?
Yes.
Could you get that for me?
Sure.
Just as far as what the total circulation is per branch, as well as the computer use in each branch?
Right.
I would appreciate that.
We can get that to you. Our board receives that information monthly. I might just touch on your security question, too. Security is one of the huge issues we're facing in all of our libraries. Over the last few months, we have begun internally at the management level reviewing security procedures with our staff and our managers. And in fact, today our security staff is out. They were going to be out in a branch reviewing, I believe it was Old Hickory. They were going to be out in a couple of others reviewing the procedures in those particular locations. So we are aware that that's an issue, and unfortunately that's an issue for any public place right now.
And unfortunately, that's the nature of the times we live in, but
Yeah.
just was needing to find out what we can do to make sure that those employees have adequate security to feel safe, as well as that would impact those patrons that would come into the library as well.
I appreciate your concern on that because we're concerned about that as well.
That's all I've got for now. Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Dominy. Councilman Claiborne.
Thank you. I apologize for coming in late.
You're fine.
My Friends of Two Rivers Mansion just accepted a Historic Preservation Award, so I wanted to ask about the talking library. You may have already addressed that question before, or the talking,
We plan to continue the service for the time being, but we are going to continue to assess the services and plan so that we're using technology and make it the most efficient service that we can. But the talking library location out there are no plans to close it.
Okay, so it's not going away because of lack of money or?
No, it was included in the budget.
Okay, great, thanks.
Thank you, Councilman Claiborne. Councilor Gilmore.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Oliver, I would like to thank you very much for your service. I think you had an impressive first year. So we want to congratulate you for that, because Donna Nicely, she was extraordinary, but guess what? You're just as extraordinary. So we appreciate everything that you do. Mr. Adams, we'll miss you for your retirement. Thank you for your service. Also, we would like to thank all the board members who serve with the libraries. Thank you so much. The libraries play an integral role in our city in educating and providing people access to technology. So we appreciate you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, and this concludes your hearing.
Thank you. We appreciate you. Thank you so much.